Welcome, everybody, to In Isolation With. It's the talk show where we make a connection without actually making contact. I hope you're all feeling good, you're feeling healthy, and you're feeling happy. A little bit later on, I'll introduce you to Amy Jo Johnson, the director of Tammy's Always Dying, a new dysfunctional family drama starring Felicity Huffman. Amy Jo will visit me remotely from her home to talk about why she put her very successful acting career on the back burner, on how her Power Rangers fans fuel the engine of her new career as a filmmaker, and of course, about making Tammy's Always Dying. First up, though, I wanted to share a couple of things with you that I've seen on social media that might help brighten your day a little bit. I came across an account by someone named Myrna Telling-Hewson. Now, I have a feeling this is a parody account. Her bio says she is a retired executive secretary for Mr. Stanley Boogenschutz, senior vice president at Hughes Aircraft, living the good life in Southern California. I just loved this tweet. It's so simple, yet so effective. During the virtual book club meeting, I saw my missing Pyrex lid on Helen's counter. That's pretty good stuff. So have a laugh at Myrna's tweets. There's lots there to choose from. And then flip over to Instagram and check out Toronto Portraits. It's the work of a photographer named Paul Perrier, who's going around the city at a social distance and taking pictures of people wearing face masks. And it's quite fascinating to see all the face masks, the variety of them, the way that people have made them their own, all for one purpose, to keep us safe and to keep them safe. It's a fascinating portrait of the city in a time of pandemic. Also, while you're there, check out the picture he took of me. Again, we were at least 6 feet apart, maybe more. I'm number 543, so you might have to scroll around a little bit. Now let's get to know Amy Jo Johnson.
Here I am in my little isolation studio.
I see it. So how are you making out?
I'm okay. I'm good, actually. Yeah, I feel really blessed to have my little home that I love and have my piano and my health, and everybody in my world is healthy. So I feel blessed. And I guess just sort of, adapting. I'm a writer as well. So I spend a lot of time in my house writing anyway. So I guess the biggest change, besides the whole world, is like, is really everything, Richard. Everything.
It's funny because I spend a great deal of time sitting just exactly where I'm sitting right now writing. It's where I work on my books. It's where I write my movie reviews. And so at first it didn't seem that different until you decide, oh, wouldn't it be great to go have a beer on the corner? Wouldn't it be great to go see a movie? And then it all starts to come crashing down on you a little bit,
Yeah.
the weight of all of this.
Yeah, for sure. And then it's like, oh, okay, I can't do that. Zoom, man, though. Like, I've been Zooming and reconnecting with family members and people I haven't talked to in a long time. So, yeah, it's so crazy.
When you look out the window or on the odd time that you do go outside, what are you noticing? Because you're in Toronto, right? I'm just going to double check. You're in Toronto.
I am. Yep, I'm in Toronto.
Yeah. So when you go outside, are you seeing that people are socially distancing? Are they following the rules? What's your take on what's happening out there right now?
I think so. I mean, I do see lots of people walking in the streets and stuff, but people have to get fresh air. Like people do need to take walks, but for the most part in the area that I live in, I see people being respectful and doing it. Every night at 7:30, we all come out on our front porch and bang pots and pans.
Isn't it amazing? I mean, that to me is one of those things that has really grabbed me about all of this, because whenever something like this happens, nothing quite like this has happened before in our lifetimes anyway.
No.
But when something momentous happens in your life, I always hope that we can take something away from it. We can learn something from it. We can learn about empathy. We can learn about finding our good nature. And that one thing of everyone coming together at 7:30 every night to bang pots and pans and yell and sing and make some
Yeah.
noise for the frontline workers and helpers that are out there putting themselves on the line for us, I think is incredible. And I hope that, maybe when all this is over, that we don't necessarily bang our pots and pans at 7:30, but we keep that spirit alive, and we take from this an appreciation of the people that are out there doing incredible work for us.
Yeah, I agree. I also find that a lot of people are really being very generous right now. If it's not with money, but kindness.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of giving happening, which is nice, which helps get through this, I think.
Come down! What are you gonna stick your head in the oven at the end of every month?
Yeah, I just set it to a cool 375 and bake my skull like a Thanksgiving turkey.
Yeah! Oh!
I'll treat you.
With whose money?
I'll pay you back when I get my check. I'm dying. What?
Best case scenario, you have 6 to 10 months.
I don't like her. Ma, too pretty. I don't want a pretty doctor.
You don't have time to shop around.
I need a drink.
Is it a strange time to be releasing a film, or is it kind of, and I don't want this to sound like it's probably going to sound, but is it a great time to release a movie? You have an audience that is going to be at home, looking to be entertained in a way that possibly 3 months ago they weren't.
The film, I'm so proud of it. It's called Tammy's Always Dying, and it went to TIFF last year, and I think it's a movie worth being seen. Felicity Huffman stars in it, and she's wonderful in it. But the movie has, had a lot of obstacles in its way. One, Felicity Huffman stars in it, and that whole stuff that happened last year.
Was that a disappointment for you, or did you just think the performance is so strong? Because I've seen the film. She's wonderful in the movie. She's transformed in the film, a performance unlike I think she's ever given before. But having your name in the tabloid headlines kind of must give you a little, when you see it.
Oh, I was in the editing room when that all went down. I was still editing the movie, and yeah, it was a dark cloud for a bit, because it was my life for the last 2 years, and it was just kind of like, is this movie going to be sold? Is it going to see the light of day? But then it got into TIFF, and that was really so wonderful. It was like one of the best experiences of my career. It was just so nice to be a part of that community and to be one of the filmmakers. So we were supposed to come out in theaters May 1st, but then all of this is happening. So it's not, but it's still coming out, and we're going to do a virtual online premiere for it. And we're going to do a contest leading up, so you can win a ticket to come to the premiere and watch the movie with us. And then we're going to do a Q&A after, and just try to get dressed up and try to make an evening out of it for people. I don't know. I don't really ever look at things of woulda, coulda, shoulda. It's just sort of, it is what it is. And I think it's a really great movie, and I think Felicity is wonderful in it. Anastasia Phillips is great in it. She's unbelievable in it.
I don't want to go to the Nutcracker, Ma.
You sure? You used to love to go and laugh at all the little fat kids.
No, I didn't.
Yeah. We'd have a couple drinks and we'd go and laugh at the fat kids.
That wasn't me.
Sure.
Yeah, Ma, I'm sure. I was in the Nutcracker when I was little. I was in it.
Oh. Were you fat?
Yeah.
So I think people, will enjoy the movie. Is it a good time for a movie to come out? I don't know. It is what it is. It's a strange time, but yeah.
But you have a potentially huge audience that are going to be discovering VOD and streaming movies. People that might not have taken that route before. So there's that. As a filmmaker, though, you did get to see it on the big screen at TIFF, and that had to be great.
I'm so grateful that we went to TIFF, because if we had, waited for, say, Tribeca or one of these other things, and that I feel so bad for all those filmmakers. It must be really, really heartbreaking.
Now, you have typically, as a filmmaker, worked on your own scripts. This is a script that was written by someone else, but from what I've read and from what I understand, that you have kind of a personal connection to the material as well. Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, well, the script is written by Joanne Sarrazin, who I went to the Canadian Film Center with, and that's where we met. We were studying together. I was studying directing, and she was actually writing Tammy's Always Dying. And I heard the script, and I fell in love with it because it was very cathartic for me. One, it's very darkly funny, and then it's excruciatingly sad too, which are the types of movies that I love to make. So my father is a non-functioning alcoholic who suffers from depression, and he is a male version of Tammy in a lot of ways.
And that must have given you then some insight, both how to portray the character, but really treat the character as a human being, and treat the character and bring layers to a character who could have simply been, someone who's intoxicated stumbling around the screen a great deal.
It was the first time I'd ever directed something that I didn't write. And I actually loved that process. And I loved working with Joanne through that, of sort of climbing my way inside the story and figuring out how I want to tell it. And then collaborating with Daniel Grant, who shot it, and Marion Wehick, who is the production designer. And it was different because I didn't write it. It wasn't my baby. And so it actually was kind of liberating at the same time, and Joanne was wonderful. I had her on set, and I brought her in the editing room a couple times, and she's a very dear friend now.
You were watching Felicity Huffman work on this set, and I love this quote from you. You said, "While I was watching her, I realized I was such a lazy actress." We first met you as an actor and performer before you went behind the camera as a director. And what do you mean by that? What did you mean when you said, "Watching her made me realize I was a lazy actor"?
I really was. I look back on my career and I'm so embarrassed as an actress, and I think it has to do with passion. I really do, because I was always very insecure as an actor, which I think made it a little bit intimidating. But I think I also had a very natural way about me as an actor, so I could be lazy and get away with it most of the time. I look back now and I'm like, oh boy. But as a director, I just love it so much. I just want to do all my homework. I just want to know everything about what I'm doing, and then seeing Felicity and Anastasia bring 150% to set every single day. And Felicity really made the entire crew have to rise to the occasion and give everything they could give. So yeah. I think I'm a much better director than I ever was an actor. I'm so sorry, all those producers and directors. I'm so sorry.
Well, you were on such successful projects and things. I mean, I think you're underplaying your value to those producers and directors that you worked for as an actor.
Maybe. Although being a director now, no, I don't think so. Because you know what Felicity said before we shot? She goes, "How about, Amy Jo, how about no sides on set?" And I said, oh, I love it. So every actor has to show up with no script and be off book. And they did. And it was fantastic.
And what do you think that lends to it?
Well, then they can play, and then we can play. And then I like to shoot everything, even the rehearsals, and a lot of times keep the camera rolling through setups, just like do take after take. And it just allows freedom, I think, for them to play and to really find stuff that if they didn't know the lines wouldn't be able to be discovered.
Music plays such a huge role in this movie, and I want the soundtrack. I don't know if there is a soundtrack, but I want the soundtrack to this. I know you're a musician. We can see the piano back there somewhere behind you. There it is, and you play. But this isn't your music. You curated this soundtrack.
Yeah. So there's some great songs on there, huh? So one of my favorite bands in the 90s was Remy Zero. I don't know if you remember that. It was an LA band, LA-based band. And so St. John Tate, who was the lead singer, that's one of the songs in there. I became friends with him. Bird York, who was nominated for an Oscar for Crash, I think, for her song. She wrote a song. She read the script and then wrote a song, which was incredible. And then there's two other artists that I should have their names in front of me, that I just on Google Play was listening to a bunch of music and then tried it out in the edit and then found them on Facebook and just reached out and asked. And then Casey MQ, who is this amazing composer, did all the score for it.
I love that you just heard something that you liked and reached out on Facebook.
Yeah.
And now it's in a film.
And they responded. Oh, actually, Casey got me in touch with Claire, I think her name is. But the other song, the opening song of the movie, which is so cool. I just heard that on Google Play, and I was like, oh, I put it in, and it's such a great way to open the movie. And she said yes. Yeah. The opening was a bit different rhythmically before. It was always her walking on the bridge the way I had envisioned it and the way we shot it. And for a while there in the edit, it was a completely other song with a very different tone. And I was driving to go edit and I heard that song and I was like, oh, what if we put that in there? And then it just like sort of made it more of like a bang, which was, I think, more fun.
I've been reading here that you were done with acting. Is that possible to say, or if something amazing comes up, you would do it?
Yeah, I'm done with auditioning and I'm done with pursuing a career as an actress. But, I have a script I wrote called Crazier Than You where I want to play my mother, and I will do that role.
Yeah.
And then Joanne's amazing screenplay and working with Joanne and doing that crazy role that she wrote in there that she wants me to play, 100%. I would be stupid not to do it. And I won't be lazy. And I won't.
That's right. Yeah. Well, you've learned something. Learn all your lines before you walk on.
Yeah. And I would love to collaborate with her in that way, because we were so good together. She's very generous, and we've really learned how to just really give each other the space we need. And I think it would be really fun to, trade hats and do it differently. Yeah.
Now, I have been reading about funding films like this, and tell me whether this is true or not. You've spoken about how doing fan conventions actually helps fund your directing. I
am so blessed and lucky for the Power Rangers, which is my first job I ever had. And honestly, so with the space between, I did an Indiegogo campaign, and that the fans that have supported me throughout my entire career funded half of that movie. The other half was telefilm.
Yeah.
And so between the two, we got the movie done. With Tammy's Always Dying, I am not working as an actress anymore. So I do not have a paycheck coming in, and making an indie film and raising all the money through telefilm and CBC and Crave and NABET and Ontario Creates and all these wonderful, places that give the money to make the movie. I need to make a living as well to put all of myself into getting something like that off the ground. So I do maybe 5 to 10 conventions, or I did. Right now they've all been canceled. a year I would do them so I could, you know, keep the lifestyle that I have and focus everything I have onto getting a movie off the ground.
I saw
Amazing.
a lineup. It is amazing. I saw a lineup. I was going to come over and say hello, but I didn't want to wait in the line that was about 150 people long for you at the Fan Expo here in Toronto.
Oh, like 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought it was amazing, and people were genuinely excited to meet you, which has to feel good.
It's just been wonderful. Like
Well,
when I do Q&As there,
yeah.
and I feel like a stand-up comedian. It's like the best audience in the world. I love it. I love it.
So fun.
Yeah, because they're there to like see you.
Well,
Kind of
there's
great.
a great story that I heard you tell about someone named Matt at a convention. Do you know what I'm talking about here?
Yeah, I do. He was the man in a wheelchair, and he said, "Thank you for teaching me how to laugh when I didn't know how to." Oh, yeah, that was pretty cool. Stories like that, it's like, man, you know, when I was 21 doing Power Rangers, and I was like, oh my God, I'm wearing spandex on national television. What am I doing? 30 years later, 25 years later, to have people tell you their stories like that, it's pretty great.
One last question. Do you think after all this is said and done that we will tell different stories after this? That the kinds of movies that get made might be a little different?
Yeah, I don't know. I was thinking about that. I was struggling with writing the other day, and my friend Blake, he said, well, what are you writing about? How do you know? Like, what is the world going to look like in a year? Is everyone going to be wearing masks? Is it like, yeah, I, who knows? I guess we just have to wait and see how this all pans out.
I think that when we come through the other side of this, and we will come through the other side of this, it's going to be different out there.
Yeah.
And I just don't know how. And I think that's the uncertainty that is fueling anxiety for people.
Yeah. And what I loved about that article is how they're going to try, big businesses, to make it all seem like it never happened and go back to normal. But a part of me just like, I don't want that. Like I think so many positive things are happening within this horrible, horrible thing that we have to walk away learning something. We have to.
We should hope that we could learn something from all of this. That hopefully will be the good thing that comes out of all of this, and that there is positivity around the corner. It doesn't seem it right now, but I have a feeling also that all those big companies that are talked about in this gaslighting article that will want to try and make it seem like nothing ever happened, we're going to remember after all this is over who did the right thing during this and who didn't. And that's going to be really interesting to see how consumers respond to companies, billion-dollar companies that took bailouts from the government when small businesses were denied them. I think that'll be a fascinating thing.
Kindness again, that word, right?
Yep.
Who was kind?
Yep. Amy Jo, thank you so much. What a pleasure to speak to you.
Thanks for having me.
That was Amy Jo Johnson. Her film, Tammy's Always Dying, is getting really good reviews in my written review. And by the way, you can find all my written reviews at either ctvnews.ca or richardkrause.ca. But I said, Tammy's Always Dying is a compelling character study anchored by remarkable performances. Now, what I forgot to tell Amy Jo is that the film has one of my favorite lines in it of all year. This is a great line. I'm not a good person, Tammy says, but I'm a good time. Felicity Huffman delivers it perfectly, worth the price of admission, or in this case, the price of a rental on VOD, wherever you legally download or rent movies. Join me again next time. Stay safe, stay happy, and we'll talk again soon.